Hey, what's up guys? So we are going to be going over how to beat elemental dragons. This deck is really nasty, probably one of the best decks that's going to be coming out in the future. I was playing the variant with Light and Darkness Dragon. It's a very nasty build because I personally feel like Light and Darkness first turn pretty much beats like half the decks. If you get a Light and Darkness Dragon, your chances of winning are pretty much like 50% automatically, but you already have like a huge edge because you're playing like the highest of tier decks. But this deck has absolutely been tearing up the OCG. This deck, they call it the Incarnate Dragons. It tops every single time. It's a very nasty deck to deal with, and even some of the side deck cards, they don't even really care because they have an answer to everything because this card is just way too good. It has too much attack. Yeah, we're going to go over, what you can side deck essentially to beat this deck. There's different variants that you can play. You can play a variant of Karakuri, Incarnate Dragons, which basically allows you to spam the field with a whole bunch of monsters and then get to draw 6 cards. And it's pretty nasty first turn to deal with that, but it's also really nasty to deal with first turn Light and Darkness Dragon. Those are the most popular builds that I've personally seen. I've also seen some other builds play Ravine. The OCG players like to play this just so they can sync her up so they can have some alternate outs. That said, I've been playing this deck for a long time, so I kind of feel like I know a lot of ins and outs to the deck. The average win-loss ratio is about 8-1, so that means I'm winning about 8 games, and in between those 8 games, I'm losing about 1. And usually the one loss is either to other elemental dragons that go first, an Ophion with Safe Zone, or Spellbooks. So basically the deck, it has such a huge advantage over just the game in general, just because of the control it can just throw up on the field. But anyways, let's go over what the deck basically does first. So the deck basically revolves around these 2 rank 7 XYZs. Big Eye, which is basically like, let me steal your monster, and then Draco Sack, which is basically I get to protect myself or pop stuff every turn. It's really nasty. This card is honestly just too good. In my opinion, I feel like you should not get 2 tokens. I think you should only get 1, but even at 1 token, it's still just a really good card. But because you get 2 tokens, you can sack for a first turn Light and Darkness Dragon, which really makes the deck OP, in my opinion. But that said, basically, the deck revolves around going for these 2 cards. And also, one thing I wanted to mention, because some of you guys commented when we were trying to do a discussion on what to side deck against elemental dragons, but you guys were mentioning Roach and also Dragon Capture Draw. Dragon Capture Draw doesn't really hurt them because they're just going to go make XYZs, and these are not dragons. One's a machine and spellcaster. So Dragon Capture Draw is not a good side deck card against them. Also, I wanted to mention Roach only negates inherent special summons. An inherent special summon would be something like any XYZ. I'm sorry, not any XYZ. Any synchro summon would be considered an inherent special summon. XYZs wouldn't matter because XYZs are ranks, they're not levels. But yeah, any synchro summon is an inherent special summon. Also, anything that just special summons itself from the hand by having a condition met. For example, Dark Arm Dragon, Judgment Dragon, those are all inherent special summons. Other card effects, something like Gores, those are not inherent special summons. Those are special summons by effect. So Steelstorm Roach cannot negate those. So Steelstorm Roach might not be the best card against them. But that's it. Let's go over a bunch of cards you can actually side deck, and then I'll mention 2 of my favorite. These are actually my favorite right here to side deck against the deck. But you can also definitely just main deck those cards. So let's go over what a lot of players are side decking, and I'll kind of explain the ins and outs, because I was playing some matches and people were side decking these against me, and there were times where it just didn't matter. So anyways, obviously Defiger Macro, just because you can make it so they don't have cards to banish in their graveyard to get the card. The only problem is they always have this effect where, let me highlight real quick, if this card is banished, you can add 1 fire dragon type monster from your deck to your hand. So that is actually really nasty that Macro and Defiger, I mean, technically, yeah, it does hurt the deck because it loses some of its fuel, but the thing is, they can still go for XYZs by banishing, and just being like, oh, it's cool, you banish my XYZ material, I still get my surges. So it's kind of nasty to deal with macro sometimes, depending on what their hand is, but generally I feel like it doesn't hurt them enough. I feel other cards that can really shut down the deck actually are something like Imperial Iron Wall and Soul Drain. I personally find Soul Drain just a better card in general. You do have that downside of paying 1,000 life points, but the upside, I'm going to save real quick just because if you don't do anything on Dueling Network, it kicks you. But Soul Drain is an awesome card because it prevents a lot of other decks too, like Dark Worlds and Mermails. They don't like this card, so Soul Drain more effective against a majority of decks. There's more decks where it hits, because if you activate Imperial Iron Wall against, let's say, Mermails will be like, I don't even care. I don't even need that. So yeah, that's why I kind of prefer Soul Drain over Imperial Iron Wall. But yeah, it can be used as well. Other cards, Fossil Dyna. Fossil Dyna is a pretty good card because it just stops them from special summoning. Also, Jowgen. The only problem is, if they're playing the baby elemental dragons, all of them just run over this thing. Let's go over the, what are the little ones called? go over them real quick. I forgot what they're called. So okay, this one doesn't get over it, but let me go through the other ones. There we go. Now they'll all be the elemental dragons. So actually, they actually have low attack. Okay, so the earth one can get over it. What about the wind one? Okay, so two out of 4 of them can get over it, and the other ones have 1800 defense. Basically only the fire one can't get rid of it. But like I said, I feel like False Dynamo has really weak attack. That's the problem. But there's basically 2 cards that they can use to get over it. Also, there is Blaster. Blaster is the card that is the problematic card, I feel. The card that is like too good because it pops any problematic card that would normally hurt the deck. Like, for example, Fossil Dino, Ophion. Blaster just says, oh, I don't care, I'm just going to kill it. Also, Breakthrough Skill has also been a popular card. I was talking to an OCG player, and he said that Breakthrough Skill is amazing against the deck, especially if they go for first turn Lad, because you can keep on... I think this is like one of those cards where it's like you can keep on trying to banish it, and Lad will negate it, so you can just keep on activating it. So Breakthrough Skill could be an option. Plus, Breakthrough Skill is just a good card in general. It's basically like negating 2 effects, although one of them is only during your turn. So it's a pretty good card against macro rabbits sometimes, but if they already have macro out, then yeah, obviously this card won't be in the graveyard, then you can't use the effect again. But still, overall, pretty awesome card. Also, Necro Valley is a pretty good card against the deck if you're playing Greed Keepers. However, like I was mentioning before, some OCG players, like they're playing like the ones with the Dragunities, and the reason why I'm like maybe not Necro Valley will be the best idea is because they can just throw up a Ravine over the Necro Valley, and then they are free, and they can, you know, obviously use Ravine, get whatever they need. Also, Chaos Hunter is an okay card, but the only problem is your opponent has to special summon a monster, and most of the cards can get over it. Which one's the one that's 26? So 2 out of 4 can get over it, so the water and the fire one can just get over this, because if they special summon it, and you special summon this thing has low defense, and the attack it's actually pretty decent. 25 is nice, but the problem is that they can still use the baby elemental dragons, and the baby elemental dragons don't need to remove cards. They just discard one dragon or fire type monster, and then you just special summon one of the other ones from the deck. So that's the problem with Chaos Hunter, I feel. So I don't really feel like Chaos Hunter is like the best card against them. Also, one thing to mention, if they're playing the Light and Darkness Dragon build, since it's during the end phase, the Light Sworn effect will just try to resolve over and over and over and over. So it'll just keep on, it'll just basically drain Light and Darkness Dragon. And the thing with the first turn Light and Darkness Dragon, I played so many variants. At one point, I didn't even play any Dark Holes or MSC just because I wanted to go for first turn Light and Darkness Dragon so hardcore. And it's a pretty good combo, but sometimes you have to exhaust a lot of cards. Like, I was comfortable using my entire hand and just so I could make a Light and Darkness Dragon. Like, it didn't matter because I felt like I had superior advantage over the game if I had Light and Darkness Dragon first turn. And yes, against a lot of decks, it was superior advantage and it was just auto win. But Lila can just drain Light and Darkness Dragon, or any of the Light Sworns that mill during the end phase. Also, another thing I wanted to mention, Light and Darkness Dragon cannot negate in the same chain. So let's say, for example, I activate something like Dimensional Fissure. Light and Darkness Dragon says no. I say, okay, Chalice. So Chalice negates the effect, plus it's quick play, so that can make it so Lad no longer has its effect for the rest of the turn. So another way to deal with a Light and Darkness Dragon, perhaps. But remember, Light and Darkness Dragon also has an effect. So once it's removed from once it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you target one monster in the graveyard and special summon it, and then you destroy all of their monsters. Oh, actually, isn't it like all cards you control? All cards you control. There we go. So yeah, that's not really a downside. They usually don't have any back row anyways. It's usually just Draco Sack Lad first turn. But yeah, so you can use Chalice in your advantage, and maybe you can still OTK them. That is a way that you can beat a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh decks nowadays because they're so fast. Is you just OTK them before they OTK you. Next up, something I wanted to mention was Save Zone. So I was like, Blaster is the most OP card ever. But the thing is, if you can save zone a False Dynamo perhaps, or save zone a Ophion, the deck really has a hard time against that. That is a really nasty thing for the deck to deal with. Because, obviously, they would have to try to destroy Safe Zone, and, if they happen to have Blaster, especially Ophion. Ophion always has that Infestation Pandemic card anyways, so it pretty much you can win the game. If you go first turn Ophion, Safe Zone it, or there's also another card called Forbidden Dress, that is also a card that, Evil Swarm players like to play. Next up, Gozen Mesh is actually a really good card too, just because you can side deck against Macro Rabbit, you can side deck against Wind-Ups, anything that just has obscure cards. Also against Six Samurais, even though I think it has Six Samurais in the picture, Revelry Warlords is what you would want to side deck if you're playing Samurais against some other decks like Windups. But Revelry Warlords will not be too good because, you know, everything is dragons anyways. But Goes in Match is pretty good because, like, usually they'll have different colors. Like, they'll have, like, the fire or colors, elements. They'll have, like, a fire, and then, like, they'll have, like, an earth. So you can't control a fire and earth. So that's a way you can stop them from XYZ. Because the deck is essentially an XYZ deck that goes for these two XYZs. But that can help. Also, summon limit that can prevent XYZ summons because, you know, they summon 2 monsters and then that's it. Although most elemental dragons have large attacks, so I don't know how viable this is. Prohibition, actually, it seemed to be a decent card because if you Prohibition Blaster, that means Blaster can no longer pop this card, and then on top of that, they can only go for the other 3 elemental dragons. Also, we were talking about Dragon Capture, how it's like not that great against it. But Torrential and Bottomless are still good cards because the deck essentially will make these, and if you get rid of these, you're pretty much good to go. I personally find Compulse to be the best card against them. Honestly, the amount of games that I played in Compulse has kind of hurt me. I mean, most of the games, it didn't really matter because most of the games that I've lost were determined in the first turn anyways by them going for first turn Draco Sack Lad me, or them going for a first turn Ophion Safe Zone. So Compulse is actually like my favorite card, I would say, against the deck. More times has Compulse hurt me, even though most of the games it didn't matter. Compulse probably hurts the most, but generally, the games when you're playing Elemental Dragons or playing against Elemental Dragons, the game is usually determined within the first like 1 to 3 turns, I would say. Kind of like how Six Samurai is basically a deck where you determine your win-loss within the first 3 turns in the game. But I've seen Mirror Force actually been quite effective if you get a whole bunch of stuff on the field. They don't really have much protection like against Blackbird. Like, they're not going to play something like Starlight Road or something like that because the deck is so hard in pushing for a game majority of the time. But yeah, I hope this helps you guys out. Battle against the Elemental Dragons. It's a very, very nasty deck to deal with because the problem is even if you side deck, a first turn Lad is just a first turn Lad, and it's like really nasty. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention really quick. That one, it's not. I don't think it's out on Dueling Network now. Is it C? Let's see if it's actually out on here now. Oh, it's on here. Flying Sea. Awesome. Okay. So, anyways, some of you guys mentioned Flying Sea was good against the deck. It's not. The reason why is because you have so many Elemental Dragons. You could just, let's say, for example, let me just give you an example real quick. There's going to be so many Elemental Heroes. So, let's say that, let's go and we'll use the side deck as my field. So, let's say I Special Summon Blaster. And then I go for, like, I summon any of the little, or activate the baby's effect to bring out another one. I now have both of these on the field. I'm getting ready to XYZ, and you say, oh, let me Flying Sea. Majority of the time, I will still have cards in my hand, so then now I still haven't normal summon. So I can tribute any of the 1 Elemental Dragons that's already on the field, plus that Flying Sea that you gave me for free, and then just, like, tribute for this, and then I can still go for an XYZ. So that's why I don't feel Flying Sea is that great of a card against it, but yeah, something I just wanted to mention. It is good because it stops them from going for first turn Lad because they have to use their normal summon, but you've used a Flying Sea, and so you're still going kind of minus, and they can still make like a Draco Sack first turn, which this card is just too good because of the 2 tokens. It needs to detach 2 of the material to get 1 token, and even then I would still think it's a good, like a decent card. But detaching, you know, 1 to get 2 tokens, plus the ability to destroy, you know, anything on the field by tributing a token is pretty OP to me, especially if you get 2 tokens. And then it can't be destroyed by battle by card effects as long as you have a token. It's just too good. It's really, I feel like the Draco Sack is kind of the problem of the deck. I mean, Big Eye is pretty nasty too, but Draco Sack is so nasty first turn. If they don't get out Lad, it's like, it's cool. Draco Sack is like still a good card. But yeah, I hope this helps you guys battle the Elemental Dragons. It's a very nasty deck to deal with, like I said. But I would say, if anything, play the Compulse. I promise you guys it's the best, because they always go for an XYZ play. And if there's something that they can't like deal with, they always end up making this. And if they use 2 cards, well, I mean, you could kind of argue that it's actually 1 card that they use, because they usually get cards for free when they Gold Sark, or they banish a card to get the other Elemental Dragon out. Anyways, they get to add cards from their deck to their hand. But Compulse is probably your best friend. Compulse and Goes in Match is actually really good too, although sometimes that Goes in Match is like too slow. That's the way I would look at it. And Mirror Force is also a fantastic card, but sometimes they'll get out too many cards where it doesn't matter, and then Draco Sack can start popping stuff. But I really feel like Compulse definitely the best, because Compulse does not destroy Draco Sack, it just returns it. So it's not like, even if they have, you know, tokens, who cares? I mean, they get tokens, but You want to activate Compulse, obviously, before that they can, get the tokens out. But if they already have it out, it's still a good card. I just find Compulse to be the best card. But if you guys have any other suggestions, I took a lot of your guys' suggestions for this video as far as what to side deck against the deck. But if you have any suggestions to other cards that are great that I did not mention, let me know in the comment section below. But what it looks like to me, Compulse MVP against the side deck. Or just the main deck, even, because I like cards that you can main deck against other decks, and it's still just effective, because, let's be honest, main decking something like Imperial Iron Wall is not the best choice. But anyways, well, actually, it might hurt Spellbook a little bit, because High Priestess can no longer start popping. But they always have that Spellbook of... Actually, no, they can't Spellbook of Fate you either. That's pretty good. Imperial Iron Wall will be a pretty good side deck card against maybe Spellbooks as well. But Compulse, overall, really solid card against them. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hope this helps you guys battle those elemental dragons. Asian Eyes, signing out.